The HTML editor is used in a number of places. You will find a link to the editor in letter records, email from name segmenter, online community templates, and more. It is a lightweight web page creation tool, so in reality, you're creating a mini web page. However, it does have a number of features that allow you to create a fairly sophisticated letter body or web page, depending on your web skills. There are so many variables involved in developing a web page that it's impossible to demonstrate everything that you can do with the editor. This video is not a complete instruction guide, but is intended to help you get started. Since the editor can be found in so many places in Denari, let's pick one. And for that, I'll go to a letter record. I'll click Add New to create a new letter. At the bottom, we find the HTML editor link, and this is really a field. And this field is used primarily with e-receipts, e-pledge statements, etc. It provides a letter body section for those types of statements, and I'll click the HTML editor link. I'll start by simply entering some text. At this point, we can be done if we want. We have created our letter body, but let's look at some simple things we can do with the text. First, I can highlight a word and then click the B button to bold that word. And you can see that we also have italicize and underline buttons as well. As you look across the top two button bars, you'll find many of the same types of buttons that you would find in a word processor like Microsoft Word. You can also insert a photo. And you've probably noticed that the letter body has changed a little bit. I took a break and added some text just so we have a context for our photo. To place the photo where you want, you just simply click at that spot and then go and click on the Insert Photo button. Now in this window, next to the source code field, click the Photo Library button, and that brings up a list of all of the photos that you've already uploaded. If the one you want to use is not here, click the Upload button, and that will take you through the process of browsing for, selecting, and uploading the photo to your library. I'm just going to go ahead and select one that's already here. So I'll click on the photo and then click on Insert. On this page, or this window, we can change the dimensions of the photo if we want to. The Constrain Proportions checkbox here needs to be checked in most cases, because if I were to change the width, for example, it would change the height proportionally so that the photo is not distorted. I'll just go ahead and click on OK, and you'll see that the photo has now been added. But you'll notice that the text sits at the bottom of the photo. That's normal HTML. That's not a Denari thing. You have to cause the text to wrap around the photo, and you can do that in one of two ways. The first way is to click on the photo here to highlight it, and then click the Insert Photo button again. Click the Advanced tab and enter a style that you want. In this case, we want it to float to the left. Floating the photo causes the text to wrap around the photo. So let me type that for you. It's float, colon, and then left, and you finish that with a semicolon. I'll go ahead and click OK, and you'll see that the photo is now inserted kind of inside the text. The text is wrapping around the photo, and you could float this to the right if you wanted to, just by typing float right, and the photo would appear over here on the right side of your text. So we're doing a little better, but the text is jammed against the photo. We can change that with a different style. Again, I'll click on the photo and the Insert Photo button, and we'll go to Advanced. I'll go to the horizontal space field, and I'm going to type a 10 there, which stands for 10 pixels. This simply means that we're going to put a margin on the left and the right side of the photo, and it's going to be 10 pixels wide. You can come back later and adjust that if you want to. And we could also, of course, enter a vertical margin here. I'll click OK. And so now we see we have a little bit of space on the right side of the photo, and actually on both sides of the photo, but on the right side of the photo between the photo and the text. The second way that you can style a photo or any elements in your letter is by clicking the source code button in the button bar, and that's that button here. That takes you to the actual HTML that the editor has been building for you in the background. Notice the image tag at the top. That stands for image, and next to it we see the style line. And those are all the styles that the editor has put in place for you. We see the float and the margin styles that we added. You can add anything you want here if you're familiar with CSS styles. Let's say that we really don't want the margin on the left side of the photo, but we want to keep it on the right. I'll simply remove that style. And then I'll click on OK. So now we see that the photo is moved over to the left side of the document, but we still have our 10 pixel margin on the right. Notice how the photo sits just a little bit higher than the text. Let's make that look just a little bit better. I'll click the source code button again and go to that style section, and I'm going to add a margin to the top. And we'll make it 5 pixels for now. I'll click OK, and we see that the photo now is moved pretty much in line with the top of the text. And again, we could go back and adjust that a little bit. We could go to 4 pixels, for example, if we wanted to. Another tool that we can use to space things is the table. And I'm just going to use this letter, but we'll move down a little bit and put the cursor there. You'll put the cursor where you want the table to go, and then we're going to click on the Insert Table button. This gives you this little grid which represents the number of rows and the number of columns that you're going to want in your table. I'm going to move over 2 columns and 2 rows to create a table with that many rows and columns. The cursor here is currently in the table, so I'll click on the Table button at the top and then go to Table Properties, and here I'll set the width to 700 pixels, and you don't need the pixels, just type the 700 there, and I'll click OK, and so it's made our table 700 pixels wide. Now I could put my photo in one of the cells with my text in another one. So I'll click in the cell that I want, where I want my photo, click the insert or the image again, select the photo, say OK, and it drops it into that cell. Next to it I'll put my letter body, and so you can see how that can work. The problem with this method is that the text won't wrap around the photo the way it did up here. It will stay contained in this cell. So this method may be a better option if you have a really large photo and you just want to put some text off to the side, or if you want to put some text below the photo, you could use a table to style that. You can change the style for each cell by right-clicking in the cell. And so my cursor's in the cell, and I'm going to right-click here, and then I'll move here to the Cell option and then Cell Properties. And here we can set the width of the cell. So I'm going to make that about, we'll say 600 pixels for now. And then I'm also going to move down to the Vertical Alignment field and choose top. So that's going to cause the text to start and stay at the top of the cell. So when I click OK, you'll see that it's moved the text over a little closer to the photo, and it's put the text up here at the top of the cell. And again, I can go back and adjust that until I get the text where I want it in relation to the photo. You can also merge cells together when needed. And for that, I'm going to highlight both of these cells. Now you won't be able to see this, but I'm going to click and drag. So I'm holding down my button on my mouse and I'm dragging over so that it covers both cells. Then I'm going to right click on one of the cells, go to cells, and then choose merge cells. And so that puts them together. So basically what it's done is it's created one big long cell here. And that often works good if you have a long line of text that you want to have extend across the entire length of that cell. So again, I could put in here, this is my text, and you can see how that could extend on out. I can also center this here if I wanted to. So again, I put my cursor in the cell, and I can do this in one of two ways. I can come up here and I can click on this center button, or I could actually go into the source code and put a style there that would cause the same thing to happen. But you can see how that can work. There are a number of things you can do with the HTML editor depending on your web development experience. Hopefully this video will provide you with the basics to get you started. If you have any questions, please contact tech support through the help button at the top of the page.